There we go. And I want to welcome you all. This is Job Search Luncheon Room. We are a job seeker support group. We're here to support you in any way that we can. Our goal is to give you the tips and tricks you need in order to help you to move from this group into your next forever job. Now, like many of you, I don't believe in forever jobs anymore. We know that you should constantly be looking. You should always be networking, always putting yourself out there. And so we're here to give you those tips and tricks to help you to move forward. No, you don't want to be here. Our goal is to help you move on. By the way, I'm Linda Brubaker. I'm a career transitions coach. And what my job is to help you to discover, showcase, highlight those transferable skills you have to make those connections and move on to that next forever job. I'm a former recruiter, former headhunter, now called, I guess, an executive search consultant. I've been an inside recruiter. I've managed recruiters. I've been a hiring manager and an HR business partner. And I'm bringing those over 20 years worth of experience to you, along with my 8 years as a job search coach. What we're trying to do is, as I said, give you those tips and tricks. And I'm doing it from all sides of that recruiting desk. Now, I mentioned that this is not a sale call, but I am going to tell you that I do this as a labor of love. I do this as my way of giving back, and I love doing it. But one of the ways that I'm able to support it is by doing some individual coaching. I will help you with any aspect of the job search that you want. I worked with several of you already. I'm happy to work with more of you. And this is the end of my pitch. I'm going to put my information in the chat. If you want to contact me, please do. I would love to work with you. And now I see Sue here. Sue also is somebody who works with job seekers and is really good about sharing her knowledge, her support with everyone. I'd like to give her an opportunity to share her information. By the way, Sue, thank you so much for being here.
Welcome, Linda. I'm glad to be here. And Linda always says this is a labor of love, but sometimes we're not clear. We like working with you all because guess what? We learn from you what you're dealing with. We keep up with all of the changes. I hear from everybody. We love knowing there's a place we come that's curated information that tells us, which fonts we should use on our resume, how long it should be, but even the big picture things. But we also learn from you as things are going along because the world, as you know, in job searching is changing very fast. I do bring my pom-poms to every meeting, and for Linda's, especially for you all, this is for us to begin with. I'm taking Linda's little verbiage today. We're going to celebrate your successes. And I loved last week someone had a success, and I don't think it's a success. And I don't know if we convinced her it was, but the fact that you can bring it up is a success. I always say, if you're here, you're already miles ahead of most people who are not in control of their professional development. I'll put my info in the chat again and happy to connect with anybody. I have worked with a few of you here as well. So I'm not looking for more business right now. I'm oversubscribed with federal workers and all of that. But I would love to help you out if you have individual questions. Oh, Linda, I went long today.
I'm not worried about that, Sue. That was great. Okay, but Sue's right. Our goal is to give you those tips and tricks and to help you move forward. And we do that because we know what it's like out there. I'll tell you right now, the job market is terrible. You all know that. There's so many things that are wrong, not only with job search itself, but with the job market. And unfortunately, my cracked crystal ball says that it's not getting better anytime soon. We are seeing people getting hired. We are seeing some jobs really work, but we're also seeing offers being pulled back. We're seeing companies post jobs, go into the interview process, and then cancel halfway through. We don't know exactly what's going on, and unfortunately, it's a cracked crystal ball I can't predict. So I can only tell you what I'm seeing. Sue, can't hear you. Can't hear you, Sue.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just shaking my head and giving you thumbs up. I totally agree with you and everybody else.
It's terrible out there. I'll be honest. Okay. So as a result, what we're going to do is when we hear from you, Those are the things that we want to do. And Sue's right. We both do a lot of research. We check a lot to see what's going on. We check with our colleagues. We check with the hiring managers. We check with recruiters. We check with other coaches. We do a lot of research online to see what's going on because we want to be able to give you as much information and as much support as we possibly can. So that's what we do. And that's what we bring to this kind of a group. So please ask us as we go along. We want to make sure that we're giving you the information that works for you. And to that end, I want to remind you that because we want to make sure these work for you, we have a private group, excuse me, it's not working right now. Okay, that I want to be able to share with you the kinds of things that we do. So if you have suggestions, either for future topics or for speakers, we've put together a little worksheet. Please go in. You all have access to it now. Please add to it, support what's there, and let's keep going from that. I'm going to start our meeting, as we always do, as Sue mentioned, with wins, because it's important to celebrate those wins. So if you've had a quick win over the last week, or the one that you'd like to share with us, please raise your digital hand. Okay, perfect. And let's share those wins. Thank you. And I saw this one first. Here we go. Patricia, excuse me. Yep, can you unmute?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, I have an interview tomorrow. I mean, I've been contacted more by recruiters with specific jobs, through LinkedIn, more recently. So I'm kind of seeing that pick up in general. But I have an interview tomorrow. I basically wrote a paper over the weekend because they wanted candidates to answer various questions, and they certainly weren't yes or no questions. I mean, it had to be something coherent about the not about what the position is going to be working with. It's master data management. And I was hoping I didn't send in something that was too long, but it had, as I said, it had to be coherent. It had to make sense. And so I have a Teams meeting, a Teams interview tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the amazing thing is I'm getting my hair cut in the middle of the day. and then the meeting is after, then the interview's after that. It's like, yay.
All righty, that works. Good for you. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to get some stuff set up over here. Wonderful. Congratulations. Keep us posted. Okay, I see. Hello there, Desiree.
Hey there. Hi. This is Desiree Bartholomew. Quick win. I actually have an interview today, this afternoon. Got a call last week, I think. I'm also still waiting for that other, that other role for them to follow up on and get that thing approved. But somebody else called me. I have an interview this afternoon with an organization, 4 days on site, hour drive, that sort of thing, but kind of working through getting, some questions answered and things like that. So the one thing I want to ask everybody is, how would you answer, why would I not want to hire you?
Ooh,
Yes.
interesting question.
It's a contract role. And the contract house, the account executive said to me yesterday, that's one of the questions that this particular individual likes to ask. So I wanted to get feedback on that. But thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any suggestions for Desiree? Okay.
I had that question in an interview several years ago, and I don't think I answered it well. So I really don't know. I'm sorry.
I would use your best friend ChatGPT and ask seriously. It's up to you to read what it gives you, but you can oppose it a couple different ways, and it'll at least give you a framework.
It does give you a framework, but remember, it has to be you. ChatGPT is a good thing to give you ideas, but only ideas.
Right.
Never
I've
use
used it to answer questions, and where they say, "Do you have experience here?" and I don't. and it helps me kind of frame how to say it in a nice way to say, well, I have experience in other areas that may apply. You know, it's a long shot, like anything else, applying for a role, and they ask you one question in the application process that you didn't expect, and that's what I use ChatGPT for.
Okay, so that's a good way to do it. But remember, what you're really doing is you're saying, in effect, what you're trying to do with those where you don't have that experience. Yes, but, or yes, and here's how this works. Okay, here's what I bring to you instead. And here's how it works for you. So ChatGPT can give you some of those suggestions. But if I'm not seeing you in the same way in an interview as you put it down on paper, it doesn't work for me. And it's almost an automatic no during that interview process. So do be careful with that. But in terms of Desiree's initial question, why should we not hire you? Okay. All right.
I have a suggestion on it,
Please do.
if I may.
Please.
I would use it as a weed out of what are the things that a culture that you know are a no-go or you don't want to be. So like I came from one where the people weren't very open to change my last role, which is why it didn't work out for me. I'd probably use something like that. Like, hey, I'm extremely driven. I value it. People who want to learn. If this is a stagnant culture and people don't want change, it's not the right spot for me. Just save us both the trouble.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends, he quit his job because somebody had made some racist comments and they didn't address it appropriately. So it's like, hey, if you guys tolerate racism, that's a reason not to hire me. So use it as some weed out maybe of the what truly do you champion and what values do you hold dear, where you'd say, hey, you know, I'd rather not have the job if that's who you are. Just my
Okay.
2 cents.
But that's why you wouldn't want to work here. Not why you shouldn't hire me necessarily. Although that could work, but that way too.
Yeah, I would just flip it back to reasons that I wouldn't want to work there. And then if that's them, they shouldn't hire me if that's them.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, I'm a champion of diversity. If you don't believe in that, that's a reason not to hire me.
I like that. Okay.
Or you can say, if you are comfortable hiring racists,
Oh,
kind of like I'm not directly like that, but then you shouldn't hire me, something like that.
okay. So there are lots of different ways. Why should you not hire me? You should not hire me if you're not looking for somebody who does this and this and this. Is a great way of answering it. It's not a question that I've heard before. Okay. But it's a question that gives us pause to think about it, and that's not a bad thing. Okay. Desiree, how do you think you would want to answer it?
Similar to what I think, I don't remember if it was Mark or AN was saying, in terms of kind of flipping it back. You know, for instance, I think Mark said, I'm a champion of diversity, that type of stuff.
Yep.
The experience I just came out of, and I think I mentioned to you, Linda, it was very toxic. I felt it was very disrespectful. They were very disrespectful. The leads were very disrespectful to me. So I'm trying to frame something kind of around that. So I'm not in the business of working in an environment where it's, you know, toxic or
Disrespectful.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So-
you can say, if you were looking to hire someone who is 100% disrespectful,
Mhm.
something like that, flip it.
Be careful about some of that, but yes,
Yes.
the idea is now use your view of culture and what it is you want to do and where you want to be.
Mhm.
Okay. I would not talk about the fact that you just came from that very
No,
topic.
no. This is us talking.
Yes, no, I agree. Okay, but absolutely. So think about that as a way of doing it. And I'm going to think about it too and see whether I can't come up with some more additional answers. Sue, do you have one? Okay. It's, as I said, it's not one that I've heard before. But
A lot
I
of
would talk about
companies
it,
are doing
yeah.
weird things. They're looking at all these tricks and all this other stuff to get to, you know, a lot of gotchas, you know, and none of that is really necessary to tell me what kind of person you're going to be hiring.
Absolutely not. And that's one of the problems that we're finding. Okay, now is this during an interview that you should expect this kind of a question, or is part of the application process? During an
No,
interview?
this is yeah, the account executive at the contract house, she said this is one of the questions that she'd probably ask.
In which case I would go back to that outside recruiter and ask her for her suggestions as to the way to answer it.
Okay.
Okay, she will have some. Okay. I apologize that I don't remember the order in which you all raised your hands, but let's keep going. John.
Hello, everyone. So I have also been in the past probably 2 weeks or so, been getting a little bit more feedback from recruiters through LinkedIn and also through Indeed. So that's definitely positive. And then last week, did get a job offer for a contract role that should be going till the end of this year. And there's a possibility of it going to full-time. So I'm very excited about that. Hopefully it'll transition to full-time, but at least for now, I have, something and supposed to start. I started doing the onboarding and everything. So I should be starting April 28th if the onboarding goes well and is done. So I'm very excited about starting.
Congratulations. Just
Thanks.
remember as a reminder to everybody that when you're doing this, when you're taking a contract job, don't stop looking. Contracts can end at any time. And John was good enough to share his offer letter with me. And one of the things it says is this very explicitly, this contract can end at any time when the client says it will end. It's supposed to go for this time, but like anything else, this is employment at will. And unfortunately, the at will part is usually on the part of the employer, which is why you're always looking. Now, one of the good things that's implied in that is that when you take a contract role, there is the assumption on the part of the employer, or at least the understanding, that if you find something that matches what you want and it's more of that W-2 or longer term role, that you can leave in the middle of the contract just the same way that they can let you go or they can end the contract at any time. So never stop looking. Congratulations.
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Stephen, I think your hand was next.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, everyone. I have an update and a win. The update, I've been talking about a couple of opportunities that I've been interviewing for over the last couple of weeks. One of them got back to me on Friday after I interviewed twice last week for that position, that they were putting the position on hold. So that was the ultimate decision. So to Linda's point in the beginning, things change, quickly. So that one's out, for now. And the other one, I did get past kind of the initial stages, and I do have an interview Friday with the hiring manager for another position. And I believe that's the last step. So that's a big one coming on Friday. So I'm fingers crossed that one goes well. And, that's a potential opportunity. But now one of them's already gone that I had been working on the last couple of weeks. So optimistic on this one coming up on Friday.
Good luck. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
Let us know how it goes.
Will do. Thanks.
David.
Unmuted. There we go. So I don't have a job offer or anything close to that, but I have a win of sorts. Actually, it's a win. I applied back on March 6th for a data analyst position with LIV Health Dental or Healthy Dental. And today I had an interview for it on Microsoft Teams. And it was interesting because at about 60-minute mark, he just stopped. And it's like, we didn't say goodbye. The room wasn't closed or anything. So I know what happened. But anyway, he seemed to be favorably impressed. We'll see what happens.
Very good. Now, was this with the company itself or an outside recruiter?
I think with the company itself.
Congratulations. Keep us posted.
So,
and I know
we'll
that
see.
this is a job search or a career change for you.
Yes.
Okay, which makes this even more impressive. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep us posted. Okay, let's see. Craig,
How are you?
good.
So two pre-screen interviews last week. So that was good. And then one is leading to an interview that will happen tomorrow afternoon. So those are my 2 wins. And I'm hoping the other one will also come through, since I know somebody in that organization. That doesn't always work out, but hopefully this will work out. So
Good. I think that's great. So what kind of a job?
So they're both international organizations in relief and development. So there would be development director positions, fundraising.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me see who is next. I think. Yep.
Good
Change the
afternoon.
angle of your camera a little bit or change you. There you go. We want to see you,
No,
not just
no, I
report
know,
back.
because I have the screen on camera here and then the other screen on the
I
other
understand.
side.
Mine's over here too.
Well, I did receive a job offer last week, so I'm struggling through it because, as I explained to Linda, it brought in other unintended consequences. The job is with the bank, but they require compliance people to become an associated person, and that brings a whole slew of additional requirements. With the bank, I have to become an associated person, move my trading accounts to one of the approved brokerage accounts, uh, get trade pre-clearances, minimum holding requirements. And it's not a broker dealer, it's a bank, so I don't understand why it should be done. So I finally got that explanation this morning received. So I will ask for exception. If they cannot grant the exception, then I would have to respectfully decline it.
Okay, so I'm going to call this a win in 2 cases. One of which is that you've actually gotten the interview, you've gotten the offer, and that's always a good thing. Here's the other thing that's a win. In my mind, it's a congratulations because you decided what works for you in the job. And no matter how much you really want a job, knowing how you want to work, what works for you is really important. So kudos for the job and kudos for deciding that maybe it's not the right fit for you and you have to move on. Okay, I know that takes courage to turn down an offer, but not a bad thing.
Yes, my biggest concern is, that I will burn a bridge with the bank, which is not ideal, but I mean, because there are other roles at the bank that I don't have to be registered. It's just like they have a central compliance department and other compliance departments. So this role is with the central compliance, and that's why they're requiring to be an associated person. But for other compliance departments, you don't have to be, which in this case, probably I can forget about that bank.
And so unfortunately, that sometimes happens. Okay. Hello there, Pam.
Hi there. I have nothing great on the job front. All that is
Doesn't
still
have to be. Win can be anything.
kind of sucky. But over the weekend, no, last week, I started doing some contract work for an ex-colleague of mine and realized that I'm actually really good at what he's asking me to do, like really, really good at what he's asking me to do. So I spent the weekend drawing up mind maps and business plans, and I guess I'm going to have to open a new business if I want to get some income. And
Sometimes it happens.
I'll keep looking for a job, but it's not like I haven't started a business before. I just will start another one.
But here's the good thing, and I do call this a win, and it is job search related, because here's the deal. You've put together some new skills, you've recognized how they work, you've added them and can now add them to your toolkit. Oh, excuse me, didn't mean to do that. So that somebody else can make use of them. You've got these new transferable skills, and something else you can add not only to your resume, but to LinkedIn.
Right.
In addition, you've highlighted what many of us are finding, which is that sometimes that side hustle, okay, is something that's going to be important, not just to get those new skills and to bring in that income, but it may help redirect us in different ways. It may be that what you're doing is going to be a new job for you. It may be a new career for you. It may be a new business for you. But being open to all of those possibilities is really great.
Somebody
Okay.
said that in doing this, there's the potential to be a, what did he call it? To get acquired. So acquired as a hire.
Oh,
It looks better than it sounds to the ear. It reads better, but that certainly is a possibility. And
absolutely it is. And it's a great way of bringing in the income, adding the skill set, finding out something else you enjoy doing. Okay. Okay. And we don't know whether this is going to be permanent, whether it's going to be full-time, whether this is the direction you're going to go, but
Okay, so
learning all
yes.
of that and being open to those possibilities is fantastic.
Yep.
In fact, one of the things we are going to be talking about as we move forward, probably starting next month, we'll be doing it several different programs, talking about portfolio careers, adding those extra things to your ideas,
Good.
maybe doing a little bit of either the side hustle or starting your own business. Okay, so we're going to start advertising some of those. You're going to see those, but again, either DM me, put it in the chat with the word future or program or something so that I can recognize it, and add it to the link that I put up earlier, and I'll put in again. But we want to make sure that these work for you. And we know that right now, given this job market as well as other things, adding that side hustle, adding that extra skill set, adding that consulting, that, what did you call it? Acqui-hire?
Acqui-hire. Ashish just wrote in the chat, it's a portmanteau of acquisition and hire, and it's a strategic business tactic. Who knew?
Okay, it's the same thing as, in effect, going in for a contract and that contract turns into full-time work.
Right,
Okay.
except I have control of the contract.
And that's exactly right. So when you get hired, you don't, but yes, absolutely. It's a great way of doing it. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Hi, Bo. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you, Linda. Thank you for all you do. So this hopefully is a win for a couple friends of mine. What we're all hearing from Linda today, this is the first time I've heard her say the market is terrible, although you may have said it before, but that's, quite, I don't know, quite sobering. So what that means is we're going to need to go the extra mile to help our friends. What that means is making introductions to people. That doesn't mean Bo saying, hey, just call so-and-so. It means Bo referring someone personally and reaching out to someone. So for example, this morning before I jumped on, I took a friend's resume to 2 different banks. He's in wealth management, bank management. He was recently with Edward Jones, and a couple different bankers that I know. That's the kind of thing that we're going to need to do these days, above and beyond everything we always do on LinkedIn. But go the extra mile for your friends, guys.
Absolutely.
Always.
Okay. So remember to put in the chat, not only your clickable LinkedIn URL so that we can all connect with you, but also please put in a couple of words, phrases about what kinds of things you want to do, how we can help you. Okay. We can't all do it in person, depending upon where the opportunities are, but we can all make those introductions, if nothing else, and share opportunities. It's one of the things that we want to talk about in terms of, okay, we have a private group as well where we do share job opportunities. We share our needs, our networking opportunities. We ask questions that we can't get to here, a variety of different things. You can join that private group only, okay, if you have registered for this program. Now, when we say private group, what that means is it's hosted on LinkedIn, but nobody on LinkedIn can find it. You have to be a member, you have to register, you have to ask to join the group. And I will admit you right away once I know that you've been part of this group. But it's a safe place. Nothing you write there is visible to anyone else on LinkedIn. which is what's really important. So please share your ideas, ask your questions, and let's keep this going. Okay, and I apologize for not getting you up here sooner. But hello, Sandra, excuse me.
Yes. Well, Linda, I've been following you and Brenda Meller and Sue Giffey and the entire VIP crowd for quite some time in a state of experimentation. And it's interesting that you should mention the portfolio career, and thank you, Pam, for bringing that to everyone's attention. I have been in a state of investigation, experimentation, and I've developed an expertise in prompt engineering with various AI tools. In that process, I've been helping job seekers to use the various AI tools in a very authentic and safe manner. Having said that, I've now attracted a lot of speaking events in process of appearing at a conference. I just submitted a video to be evaluated for my participation in this AI conference. Speaking at a lot of events across North America, teaching people, etc., etc., etc. So I have to get off the fence. And I've had one foot in seeking a job, and I've been seeking a particular job within the startup, scale-up industry for companies. And it's been unsuccessful. And I think there's a reason for that, because in my gut feeling, me going out on my own, developing my own consulting business is the route for me to go. So it takes experimentation to really get to that point. And so this is it. I am launching my own business and helping others to become very adept and comfortable with artificial intelligence and all the various tools that are available. And because here's what else is happening. More and more employers are adopting AI in the workplace, and particularly, for example, like Microsoft Copilot. One of the big issues that they're experiencing is people being able to effectively prompt without error or reducing the errors. However, I've reached the point in my prompt style where I've reached 0 hallucinations, and I have the backup to prove it. And that is pretty much unheard of. So I have a very unique prompting style, and this is what I teach people. So this is it. This is my big announcement. So ta-da, portfolio career. So I have different tracks in my main umbrella, and that's it. So thank you.
Congratulations. So if you're open to sharing some of those prompts, we may want to talk to you to do one of these programs too.
Well, actually, here's what I've developed. I've developed a framework, a template whereby people can follow and just input the various information. And what's important is the sequence. It is the thought chain to get to the point where you then execute the instruction. So I can share that template, absolutely. And I can even, actually, I have to join your private LinkedIn.
Yes, you do.
Group
I just
yet.
put the link in the chat again.
Yeah, and I could even have like maybe a 15-minute segment in one of your presentations.
That's what I was thinking about. So you and I will talk offline.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I admit that learning all this AI stuff is new to me. I'm not as strong with it as I should be. In fact, I'm kind of hesitant. I admit it. Okay, so congratulations. Okay, let me see. Jim, would you like to come on screen? There you go. You have to unmute. There you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me speak. Sandra, if you're interested, you talked about putting things in sequence. If you'd like to build a LangChain project, I'd be happy to work with you on that. I just put one together recently, and it's a lot of very interesting. It's lets you, the way I built one, I can show it to you sometime. You execute some function, and if it's successful, it continues. If it's not successful, it ends. I'd be glad to work with you on that.
Okay, so thank you. Absolutely. I accept your offer. And
Okay.
here's the other benefit to this. On your resume, you can put this down as a project, and on your LinkedIn profile can also put it down as a project. So
Okay.
then it shows your adaptability and embracing new technologies.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Let's connect and get together sometime. We can take a look at that.
Sounds like a great idea. I love, in fact, I was just writing this in the chat. I love the fact that people are willing to do this. That's one of the beauties of a job search group like this, is that we're really all here to help each other. We learn from each other, we get ideas, we share, and this support, I'll tell you, really makes my day. So thank you all both. Any other quick wins that people have? I'm sorry. Anybody else have a quick win? Okay. Let's start talking about the idea of soft skills. So we all know that soft skills are important. So what do you think of as the most important soft skills that are out there? Please put it in the chat, okay? Which one do you think is the most important? Oh, I like these. Empathy, reading the room, listening, collaboration, leadership, communication, listening, communication, building trust, problem solving. Okay. Emotional intelligence, listening, communication above all, active listening. All of those are really important. And you notice if you're looking at job search or job postings, you're going to see a lot of those terms listed over and over again. Okay. Collaboration. Yes. Listening. So all of these are things that are going to be really important. So how do you demonstrate that you have these skills? Because I'm going to give you a recruiter and a hiring manager hint. The hard skills are going to get your foot in the door. The soft skills, the way you talk with people, the way you do that active listening, you build things up, you demonstrate those skills, and it's demonstrating, it's not just saying it, but that's what's going to get you the job. So you need both. So if we can talk about hard skills on the resume, how do we talk about soft skills? So that, because they're important too in terms of helping to get your foot in the door, how do we demonstrate those on the resume or in your cover letter, and most importantly, in your interviews? Okay, your conversations, your networking with people. Any ideas? Oh, come
I
on.
think by the way you talk and by the way you communicate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when you think about it, we're all doing it now. This active listening, listening to one another and sharing ideas. Okay, that open sharing is a great way of doing it. Now, on your resume, you can't really do anything with that. You can't say that. And I know that there are some people who are concerned that AI is going to be matching everything on your resume in terms of the ATS. And if you're not listening, or if you're not listening, communication, listening, teamwork, collaboration, that you're not going to go through. That's a myth. At least as of now, that is a myth. It is still the recruiter, still the person who's actually looking at those resumes, who's making those decisions as to what's important and what's not. The ATS is an applicant tracking mechanism. It's like a file cabinet. It can help sort the resumes, but it's not going to necessarily weed you out unless it can't read it. So do make sure that you're including all of that information. But as a recruiter, as a hiring manager, I don't want you listening. I don't want you listing collaboration. I don't want you listing teamwork. What I want you to do is in your bullet points, in your accomplishments, you're talking about how you're using those skills. You may not even necessarily mention it, but you're talking about it. So if you're thinking about it, because we've talked many times about the importance of putting your bullet points for your jobs as not as activities, but as what you did, what you accomplished, right? Always starting either with an action, verb, or a result. It's not a job posting. It's not a job description listing. We talked about the idea of bringing your accomplishments that match the job up to the top of the resume. So you could say something, you want to demonstrate leadership, led the team that did this, accomplishing this. That's leadership. Facilitated, okay, discussions leading to the consolidation of. Sue.
And to add to what you're saying, you can get at the skills by saying something that gives people a sense of how quickly or how efficiently or how effectively you were able to do this without using those words, which I call self-value judgment words. But you can say, led a team of 10 to initiate the start of the project with full implementation by week 7 or something. You can't necessarily tell people a lot about it, but you can give them the idea that you're moving along and it's going well. And to do that, whatever size your team was, that's where you sometimes can get a little number that'll catch the eye. But think about trying to give them the idea of not just each skill individually, but what's the activity, what I call a category of transferable skills, such as project management has, where you have an accomplishment that you can say then you've done it and proven, by the way, you listen, you write, you can produce teams that produce results quickly. So that's my 2 cents of putting an evidence-based spin on it. But with an active verb, you're right, Linda, that'll immediately tell people. And please avoid the words supported, assisted, provided. They're too general because it's like, well, what did you actually do? Just tell them, claim your credit.
Absolutely. And whether you were part of the team, whether you led the team or not, you have actually done the work. And that's incredibly important. One of the things that I would be careful about, remember, it's the human person, it's the recruiter, the hiring manager who's reading this. They can read between the lines. You don't have to say leadership skills, blank here. Okay. Please don't do that. It makes your resume look clunky. More importantly, it's almost as if you're telling me that I can't pick it out, and that is not very good. Okay. So give me the credit to be able to read it. Trust me, I will. I'll figure all of that out. But demonstrating it is so much better than just talking about it. And we are going to talk a lot more about how to demonstrate that value as we continue along this process. Thank you. Okay. I don't know who came up first, so I apologize. You're just coming up on this where you are on my screen.
Hi, I'm Meg. I just wanted to mention something I did recently in this area was I did a personal branding exercise where I reached out to people who I've worked with and I asked them some questions about what they thought my leadership and communication style was and things that I brought. And then recently, I wouldn't necessarily do it for all the jobs I'm applying to, but for something I applied to recently where it felt like culture in the organization would be particularly important, I actually included a couple of the quotes that I got from people in that exercise that talked about some of those skills and how they added value without any personal identifying information from the people who wrote it, but just to be able to say, here's what other people have said about
I would rather, I love the idea of asking other people what they think you're good at. I think it's great. And I would highly recommend that we all do that. Go to a couple of trusted people. Go do it in some of your networking groups, some of the people that you know. What do you think, okay, are my skills? If you were looking at me, what do you think that I bring to some of these roles? What do you think I should emphasize? I think it's great. And does my LinkedIn profile demonstrate that? Does that make that clear? But rather than including those kinds of statements in your resume or in your cover letter, especially because they're not named, we don't know where they came from. Okay. To some extent, as a reader, if I'm putting on that hat, that always gets a little suspect. Ask those same people to write you a LinkedIn recommendation instead.
Do you think you'll really still look at those? Because I've had those in the past, but I feel like they've sort of fallen out of use a little bit.
Actually, they're not. We're finding that they are being used again, depending upon what you're doing. And you can always refer people to those recommendations. Okay. Or as so-and-so said in the recommendation in your conversation. Okay. Or go back and take a look at some of those. Make sure that you have some current ones. But remember, the words that they put in those recommendations are also searchable through LinkedIn.
Okay. That's helpful.
Okay. So those are good things to do. But be careful about some of the rest. Okay. By the way, you can also, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. You can highlight some of those things in your about section. Here's some of the things that people have said about me that are really important, that I'm really excited about. Okay. So you can copy and paste those there as well. Sue, you had something.
No, I left my hand up. Sorry, Linda.
Okay. We all do that.
Yeah, but you know what you were just saying is so important, and I hope people listen to that. It's really critical that you. I think the example, I can't remember, was it Meg just gave us, is great, but don't go overboard with it. And I never thought. I'm so glad you mentioned the about section's a great place to put people who've worked with me in my last job or my most recent job.
Exactly.
Like that, say blah, blah, blah. What a great idea. That's a perfect place for it. A perfect place.
Thank you. And if you want to make that anonymous at that point, you can do that. But that's another way of bringing some of that information right to the forefront.
Yeah. All right. So I did have my hand up in my brain.
I do that all the time. Sandra.
One thing that Meg mentioned, we were on the subject of recommendations. The LinkedIn algorithm loves recommendations, and they're different than endorsements.
Yes.
But again, avoid going overboard, but getting those really high quality recommendations. And then the other thing that I do is that we often as job seekers, we discount our skills and we just take them for granted. And we think, oh, well, this is just normal. This is what I do. So here's what I've done for myself. I've taken all of my accomplishment statements, my star stories. I've printed them out on a sheet of paper. In the morning, when I wake up, I read my accomplishments. Then, before I go to bed, because there's different brainwave states in the morning and at night. The brain's waking up in the morning, and then now we want to read our accomplishments. Then at night, before we go to bed, the brain waves are now being lowered, and we're getting ready for bed. So this is something like subliminal messaging. Read your accomplishment statements again. And honest to goodness, this has really boosted my self-appreciation and my ability to communicate the value that I bring to any employer. And it's just that morning and evening practice of doing that. And then when you're asked a question, tell me about yourself, or you're asked about a particular situation, all of a sudden, those accomplishments are embedded within you. And there's also a neuron thing happening in the brain that all of a sudden you have this instant recall and you can talk about the story. So that's just my little input. Thank you.
Perfect. I think that's great. It's the same thing as doing those affirmations. And one of the things that I want to remind people is that we have a tendency to forget the good things that we do. And so imposter syndrome comes up. And this is definitely not, okay, something that we want to talk about. We want to be able to avoid that as much as possible. Okay. Hello there. Yes, you're back.
Another quick question. You said don't have a leadership skills section. I've had people recommend having a skills qualification section on the resume. One of those subsets, I have leadership, like direct team management, things like that. Is that bad to have on the resume, or?
I think it's a waste of space, honestly. Okay, so what I'd like to see is that you can say those, but what I would rather see you do is demonstrate it. Okay, and think about it too. What you're really doing, I want to see the skills section. I want to see an accomplishment section, but I don't want you to call out leadership or things like that. Okay, I really want it to be from the perspective of the recruiter, the hiring manager, the coach, whatever it is you want to put me, what role you want to put me in. Give me some credit for being able to figure that out. But think about those sections. You've got the top third, quarter of a resume to grab my attention. Don't waste it by calling out some things that you really have to prove later.
Okay. I'd love to see if I could just float my resume and get your perspective on it. I may throw it out there in the LinkedIn group if that's okay.
Okay. So make sure that you're doing all of that kind of stuff, and we can talk about some of that. Yes. Okay. Did anybody else have a hand up that I missed? I apologize. Okay, so soft skills are terribly important. One of the things that Sandra was talking about was that she thinks about her star stories. Remember that these should not be star stories, they're start stories. The idea is you need to add that extra T at the end. For those of you who don't remember, a star story is situation, task, action, result. That last T is the tie-in to the kinds of roles that you want, the transferability, how you make it important for me. So when you're practicing those stories, always remember that it's not just the best things you've ever done, although in the broad way, that's absolutely true. When you're doing those kinds of affirmations, remembering them all, absolutely. But when you're talking to an employer or a potential client, it's what can you do for them that really matters. So bring in that extra T. Now, again, getting slightly off topic for a moment, you don't have to spell all of that out for me, either on your resume or in your cover letter or in your interview stories. You don't have to go through, here's what the situation was, here's the task. Start with either the result or the action. That's what's really important to me. You can fill in the rest of the blanks later. But the action and the result and that tie-in, that's what's going to make the difference for me and make the difference for you. Charles.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've had a two-page resume for many years, but with the new style of result and activity, I was able to pare mine down to one page where I've got two, three, maybe four, depending on how long I've been somewhere, bullet points of not things I've done in terms of job description actions, but results for the company that I brought as a result of, working there for them, retained customers billing, 20 million ACV for 3 years or something like that. Like I'm showing not the functions of the job, but the results that I brought. And I actually did pare my resume down significantly as a result of that. It's a bit of an ego pull back, it's not like, ooh, 2 pages, but it's like they're much more focused on results.
So a one-page resume, if you can do it, is fine, but I'll tell you that 2 pages is also good. Just make sure that it's perfectly acceptable. But again, the difference between the resume sorters and so on, and me, the person who's reading it, my initial read is going to be just that top of the resume. Now, am I going to want to see more? Probably. Okay, if you've put all that good stuff up front, if you've given me your skills, if you've given me your accomplishments that are transferable to me, as well as put some underneath the rest of the jobs that are out there, I'm not going to want to read more, probably. But that 2 to 9 seconds to grab my attention, yes. The rest of the resume is what validates that, what gives me the additional information. 2 pages, if you've been working for a while, is perfectly acceptable. Don't try and squeeze things in. Don't make it your type too small in order to fit it all in. Okay. So nothing less than a 10 or 11 point, and I prefer an 11 as your smallest. No margins smaller than 0.8 all the way around. Remember, for the most part, I'm reading this on screen, and a lot of us have older eyes, okay, or tired eyes. So we want to be able to do that. Thank you. And I'm seeing a couple of questions in the chat. Okay, yes, if I did not put those resume templates in the chat, I will do that. In our private group, I mean, I did put the slides in that we did. Were there other questions out there that I missed? Okay, as people are starting to leave, because we've gotten to the witching hour, if you like, we're not going to automatically shut off. But by the same token, I want to remind you that you can copy the chat. I will put it in the private group. But when you copy the chat, you can go up to the top of the screen where it's the 3 dots next to Job Search Lunch and Learn, something there that says Save Chat, and then you can put it wherever you want to. You can do it the old-fashioned way, which is to slide either all the way up or down the chat box and copy it and put it into a document of your own. Remember to connect with one another to join our private group. Please, 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 I'm going to stop the recording, by the way. But please make sure that you are reaching out to one another, connecting with one another, sharing your goals and so on. Oh, before I stop the recording, one more thing. I wanted to remind you all that there's a difference between endorsements and recommendations. LinkedIn actually values both. From a job search perspective, if I'm looking for a candidate with certain characteristics, with certain skill sets, I'm going to be using your endorsements. The number of endorsements are going to help you pop up in my search. If you do not have at least one endorsement for some of those skills that you want to be found for, you may not be found. Now, the difference, LinkedIn, please don't listen, but the difference between an endorsement and a recommendation. As much as I would like to tell you that you should know the person that you're endorsing and that you should say, yes, I can absolutely say this is the right thing, you don't have to. An endorsement simply requires a first level connection and for you to tell me, here are the top 5 skills you want me to endorse you for. Unfortunately, that's it. It's a click of a button. A recommendation requires that you actually know the person, that you can speak to where you knew them, that you can speak about something they did that was important. So they're useful for 2 different aspects, both in the LinkedIn algorithm and in terms of what the jobs, the recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. So the endorsements helps you to be found. The recommendations not only help you be found, but help you get hired. Okay, they're that social proof. Yes, Patricia.
Hi, sort of a 2-part question. Is it, so once I receive a meeting invite and know who is going to be interviewing me, is it okay to just look them up on LinkedIn? And the second part is, a recruiter told me that I can fiddle with some setting and make it such that I can view somebody's profile, but they don't know that I viewed it by my name.
That's absolutely true. Both
Okay.
cases. So if you've
Okay.
got an interview and you've got, you know who you're going to be speaking with, they're going to be looking at your profile. Look at theirs.
Right.
Okay. So absolutely go in and do that. In fact, I normally recommend either sending them a message on LinkedIn or a connection request with the simple phrase, okay, they may not accept it, and that's okay. I'm looking forward to our conversation on such and such a day, or I'm looking forward to talking, right? You know that they're doing it. And it
Right.
gives
Sure.
you additional information that you can use as part of that interview process. Okay.
Okay. True. Okay.
Because you know a little
Great.
bit about them. So absolutely do that. So
Thank you.
simply looking forward to our conversation. That's it.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Oh, you had the other second part. Okay, which was how do you go in anonymously? And you can.
Right.
Go
Where
in-
do you, yeah.
So you go into your private settings and privacy,
Okay.
okay, on your LinkedIn profile,
Right.
and it's visibility.
Oh, visibility. Okay.
Okay. Just remember that if you're doing it, okay, who can see your profile, see you, whatever. There are some accounts that can see your name even if you try and go in anonymously,
Okay.
but it's a setting I use. Just remember to turn it back and make it you again after you're done with
Right.
that.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
By the way, connect with each other, endorse each other. If you've got recommendations that you can give somebody, please do that too. Hi, Bo.
So Linda, you mentioned endorsements, and you've also said that we need to have them in order of the ones that we want to be promoting. Refresh us again on how we reorder those to the right order.
So, let me see. See what I can't share my screen real quick. By the way, as a reminder, the first Wednesday of every month, we do an open-ended Ask Me Anything. But for right now, let me see whether I can't share my screen. Okay, can you all see my LinkedIn screen?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my profile, and you can get into your own profile two ways, either here on the left or up at the top where it says me. Either way works, but I'm going to go in this way because here's the drop-down box that I want. Okay, so I'm going to go in, and if I'm reordering skills, I'm going in View Profile. I'm going down to my skills section. So you have a plus that lets you add. Okay. Start typing, make sure you're using the drop-down box. So start typing and see what shows up. But use the pencil is your edit. Okay. So if I'm editing, again, the three dots here, reorder. And if you go over to the right next to the skills, okay, you'll see this mark. It's a drag and drop. Just move it around.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Only two skills are going to show up on your profile itself, on the page itself. Sometimes three, but make sure that the two that do show up on the screen when I look at it, unless I click see all, are the ones you most want to be found for.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. John.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that the transferable skills is important for like cover letters, as well as interview.
Absolutely.
So I've used the cover for cover letters and also for thank you letters. I think transferable skills helps, so you can kind of pinpoint exactly according to what they're looking for and mention that in the thank you letters.
It's always about what's in it for them. Always think about that, what's in it for them. Perfect, thank you. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Anything else that I can help you all with today? Please go back in and yeah, okay. Craig said that somebody said that a hiring manager told him they weren't going to hire somebody who didn't take the time to look at their LinkedIn profile. Let me give you another one. LinkedIn engagement is also incredibly important. I had one candidate who got hired because the president of the company, before the interview that he was going to have with this candidate, went in and looked not only at the profile, but at his engagement to see what kinds of comments he was making, and specifically mentioned one of those comments in the interview process itself and said, here's why I wanted to talk to you. In effect, you demonstrated your expertise. It wasn't that you were specifically hiring for a job. You were sharing your expertise. And you know what? That expertise is not only good, but it's exactly what we're looking for. So it's not just the profile, it's the engagement as well. And we need to talk more about engagement and how you get involved in that. Okay. All right. Endorse each other. Recommend people when you can. Copy the chat. Let me know either in a DM, in our private chat, or in an email what kinds of things you want us to talk about. And then we will go from there. Okay. Have a great week, everybody. Hope those of you who celebrate Passover had a great Passover, and those of you who are celebrating Easter, have a good Easter as well. And I will see you all next week. Remember to copy the chat. I'm going to go off screen. I'm going to stop the recording.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Linda.
See you all next week.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks. Have a good day. Take care.
Thanks, Linda. Have a nice day.
You too.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good week.